You are listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Hey, welcome to I Am Refocused Radio. We are here once again, and we have another show for y'all, amazing audience today. We're going to go down to Austin, Texas and talk to Melissa Gail Klein, and we're going to learn all about her. She's not just a banjo player and flute player, but she does amazing songwriting, man. So I just want to first welcome Melissa to the show and say, how you doing?
Thanks for having me. I'm doing really well. Hanging out in the Texas Hill Country here.
We're going to learn all about your amazing work with music, but you also do work outside of music, and that is something that I think is a very important topic. But before we get into that, let's dive into who is Melissa?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm really excited to be on the show. I am a singer-songwriter and a banjo player, a flute player. I have a 5-piece band here in Austin, Texas. And besides that, I'm also a social worker. I'm a therapist, and I work with a lot of different populations, primarily women, women survivors, and justice-involved individuals as well.
That's awesome, because I saw in the bio that you're originally from New York, but you're currently here in Austin. So what was life like in New York?
Well, I grew up on Long Island, so for the first 18 years of my life, and I recently went back last week, actually, for a wedding. That was fun, and I'm really glad that I grew up in New York. I got a lot of just like worldly wisdom, worldly knowledge, and I've been here in Austin about 7 years.
And when you came to Austin, did you come here and already planning to get into the music scene, or was that something that happened in New York? When did that process start for you?
Yeah, I left New York and I went to university in Pennsylvania. I was a gymnast, so I was there on scholarship for gymnastics. And then I traveled around, ended up in Austin. And the process of becoming like involved in the music scene here, I was already performing in Santa Fe, New Mexico, where I lived before for about 2 years. So I came here ready to kind of break into the scene and perform.
And speaking of performing, you mentioned earlier that you have a 5-piece band. The Mountain Dew. Wow, no, the Morning Dew.
Yeah.
Now that would be something.
It kind of speaks to the Mountain Dew a little bit. Gets stuck in your head.
Yeah, I don't know. When I saw Morning, I got thirsty and was thinking Mountain Dew. But yeah, it's the Morning Dew. Tell us about the Morning Dew, man.
Yeah, the Morning Dew is made up of 2 of my very dear friends, Jacqueline May. She plays the cello and sings, and we love singing together. It's like a super special thing, special connection. And my friend John Clayton, he's a Texan. He plays guitar. He's great too. And then we have bass players and drummers that we play with at different times. One drummer named Clayton Stroop that we play with often.
When this group formed, was this something that was immediately, or were they friends that you just grew and like, oh, you do music, I do music, let's do a band? How did that form for you?
Definitely an intentional kind of band creation. I met John when I was traveling through Austin. I was going to these meditation retreats and visiting Austin regularly before I ended up moving here. And then we just jammed and we had this kind of magic together. And then Jacqueline and I became really good friends when I moved here, and would just jam together too. And then I was performing solo and I decided to make a band, and it just kind of came together.
Once again, we're talking to Melissa Gail Klein, and also about her music career and life story. You mentioned earlier in the show that you are also a counselor. And what got you involved in counseling and also advocate for women survivors of sex trafficking?
I was going through kind of a challenging time in my life, and historically, whenever I've had challenging moments, I have chosen to do some kind of service work. And that has always really given me more than I give. And it's been something important to me. So during that time, I decided to start volunteering. And I found an amazing organization called Truth Be Told that works with women in prisons and jails. And I did a vocal workshop at a prison here in Texas. And then I decided to become a facilitator and started doing weekly groups at the county jail here. And from there, I decided I wanted to study social work. And I went to UT and got my master's in social work. And now I do counseling and work at a residential house for women survivors of sex trafficking, and still do some volunteer work as well with women in prisons and jails.
Well, it doesn't sound like you sleep too much, but
no, I'm really busy.
This is very interesting. So you're not just in a band, you're not just creating music and songwriting. You're doing all these great things off the side that really shows your personality and who you are as a person. What are some of the things that you draw from your activities are involved with these groups? Because that's very interesting. It'll be nice for you to educate the audience on some of the things that you do and how important that is for the community.
Well, the first thing that I began doing regularly at the jails is a circle. And I drew from the curriculum that they already had set in motion at Truth Be Told. Wonderful facilitators. They taught me a lot, and then kind of put my own spin on it. And so I'd come in, kind of set the space, have a little background music going, like flute music, piano music, and kind of set the vibe. And then have the women come in. Sitting in a circle is really important, just to have everyone kind of on an even playing field and feeling connected. And we do different kind of things. I use type of therapy called narrative therapy, where you act out different things. So it can be like we would write things we want to let go of and put them in a bag. We called it the burn bag. And then I would take it home, wouldn't read it, and I would burn it. Then we do other things like fun little games to kind of be light and interesting. We'd be like, okay, what emotion are you feeling? And we'd have half the group stand up and I'd put music on and then freeze it. And when it was frozen, everyone would strike a pose. And then the other half of the group would walk around and kind of read what the feelings were and try to name them. Different ways to get the women to get in touch with themselves and feel empowered. And different parts of different things in the curriculum. We would bring in different videos, different speakers to listen to, like Brene Brown, songs like by India Ari. I love her. And we kind of listen to the lyrics. So different creative pieces. We'd also have song circles. I'd usually leave the last 10 to 15 minutes for singing, for poetry, which was definitely out of a lot of people's comfort zones. And so, but it was amazing. The most amazing music and just expressions would come out of these women. And sometimes we'd all be crying, or we'd all be singing together and banging on chairs, making beats. It was fun. So fun.
And when you are doing this with these women, since you are in the music industry and you are a songwriter and performer, do you use your songs sometimes with these techniques, or do you just keep it separate? You have specific stuff for the groups and everything else is separate?
Yeah, it's an interesting line, kind of deciding what to keep separate and what to share, being a therapist and being a musician. But the title track from my album, my first full-length album that I released last October, is called Crystalline Charm. And I wrote that song and started singing it a cappella at the end of my circles there. And the women loved it and they asked me for the lyrics. So I printed out the lyrics. And then I would sing it also at the end of my live shows, acoustic. So definitely that overlap there. And the lyrics are very spiritual, uplifting. And then I wrote a song with the women at the first vocal workshop I did, actually, at a prison. We did an activity where we kind of honed in on some themes and passed around papers, and women gave me pieces of poetry and pieces of just ideas that they had, and I wove it together into a song. And then I got to go back over Christmas with a musician that I love and admire a lot named Jamie Harris, and we sang the song that the women had wrote together for them. It was so powerful for me. It was beautiful.
And once again, talking to Melissa Gail Klein here on Refocus Radio. And based on what I'm hearing, you just sound like you have a big heart to helping people. And with that mindset, you mentioned earlier that you faced some struggles that prompt you to wanting to get involved and help people through their struggles. How were you able to move forward with your storms in life and not allow it to stop you from doing what you're doing today?
That's a really great question. I think a lot of it is an ongoing process of just self-examination, using my creative outlets, writing, music, poetry, movement, yoga, meditation, a lot of different tools I've just studied and acquired over the years. And of course, friends, community, and also therapy. And then just a lot of willpower, I think, just day to day, getting up, making a strong decision to just focus my mind and be positive and try to be of service, try to learn, try to be humble. So mindset, a lot of support, and nature time. Yeah.
And that's an interesting fact. What is it about nature that gives you that sense of clarity and focus?
Well, I'm sitting outside in nature right now. I don't know if you can hear the birds in the background, but I just feel deeply connected with nature, the trees, the earth, the water, the elements. I just find it to be so deeply healing for my soul, for my body, to connect with the earth that way. I can't really explain. It's just like an intuitive thing. I've always felt that way.
And once again, talking to Melissa Gail Klein, and you have a project that's going to be coming out later in September, and the upcoming EP is called Home. And this is going to be a project that is actually a follow-up of what you just talked about, Crystalline Charm, and it's going to be stripped down version of that. What can you say to the audience as far as what they can expect, the vibe of the song?
It's kind of in between an EP and an album. It's 7 songs. It is more stripped down, more acoustic. Kind of going through COVID and not being able to perform and reflecting a lot. I just wanted to give something that really represented the pure sound of my music, that honored my live band and the sound that you're going to hear if you come to see us play. And it's called Home. I actually wrote it based on the title track again. And the title track, I wrote it around the time that Ram Dass passed away. And there's a Ram Dass quote that says, "We're all walking each other home." And that's the feeling that I wanted the song to convey, and the feeling that I wanted the album to convey. Just a feeling of home, like inner peace, feeling at home in myself, and kind of sending out a vibration of comfort and peace. And the first album, the 12-song album, is a bit more rock and roll. It's a bit more produced. There's a lot of instruments, a lot of players we brought in from the Austin music scene, from Nashville. And I'm super proud of it. I love it. And I think between that album and this album coming out, people will really get a sense of like the music and what we're bringing, and the morning dew.
You keep talking about the sense of calm, and I can hear it in your voice. You just have that low key calmness. And have you always had that sense of awareness in your life as far as the way you approach life in a calm way?
I don't know. I think I had it maybe when I was younger, and then kind of lost it for a time and got it back. It's hard to say. I was a gymnast, so my life was really intense. I was always traveling and competing. I was on scholarship at a Big Ten school. And so that time in my life was very high pressure. And I think after that experience and just kind of piecing myself back together as an adult and deciding who I am and who I wanted to be, I just have found seeking calmness and harmony and just peace in my life is a priority to me and something that I want to share through my music and my presence.
And your band, The Morning Dew, y'all are planning on hopefully performing in the fall and maybe having some tour stops, some different places to go. Do you have anything short term that you can preview to the audience as far as where you might be heading towards?
Yeah, we don't have the exact tour route set up yet, but we are planning to stay in the Southwest and maybe make it up to Colorado. So around Texas, New Mexico, and up to Colorado and back, we're going to do, I think, a series of long weekends. So we're definitely going to put it out on my website and social media so you can follow us there, stay connected, and come see us. That'd be so cool.
Definitely. And you, like I said, you have a master's degree. I mean, I don't know how you rest and sleep, but that's pretty awesome. And you talk about how the importance that you do certain activities to help people, which I think is really great because so many people are struggling out there. If someone hears this episode and they're like, man, I'm like one of those women that needs to find some help, how should they go about finding help? And if they can be a good fit with you, how can they connect with you to get that kind of help?
Therapy is very healing and very important. It has been for me on my journey. I'm a big advocate of therapy and just like taking any stigma away from therapy and getting help, getting someone to talk to and get support. And then there's lots of resources online, like studying, kind of researching about abuse and cycles of abuse is a really good place to start. And I think just working with women in general, like there's a lot of just things and messages in the society and culture that I think are unhealthy, and looking within and kind of finding one's center, one source of empowerment and inner peace. I think it's an inward thing that anybody can do. It's challenging, but I think that's where the road to healing starts. It's from finding our inner wholeness.
Once again, talk to Melissa Gail Klein. You can go to her website, melissagailklein.com. And before we let you go, I always ask this question to a lot of artists, and I do it on purpose because I think everyone has their own way uniquely answering the question. When it comes to your music and it comes to your legacy and how people hear you and find you, what are you hoping that you leave behind beyond your time as far as through your music and through your work?
Ooh, get chills. I haven't thought about that a whole lot. It's a big question. I guess I want to leave behind the music that I've created, that I've co-created, because I think it has a lot of depth and meaning and messages, and it's relatable to a lot of people from a lot of walks of life. So I'd want people to hear it really and just connect with it and use that music to feel more connected to themselves and to the divine and to life and to each other.
And for the women out there who will hear this podcast, what would you say words of encouragement for women who are trying to pursue their goals and their dreams? I
think just keep going, just do the work to overcome whatever it is. I know it's hard. It's like as women, and I mean for everyone it's hard. There's a lot to overcome, but I feel like women, we have our unique challenges and struggles, and just do whatever it takes to overcome that stuff and put your message out there, shine your light, share your gifts, and don't judge it and don't compare. Just do it, because the world needs that. The world needs us women to shine and to share our gifts and to put ourselves out there. And that can be scary, that can be hard, but I think it's needed, and it feels so good. Like what you said, shine your light. I will definitely echo that. Shine your light no matter where you are, because you never know who's watching, who's listening, and you never know whose life you can change. So with that said, I want to thank Melissa for being on the show today. You once again go to the website, melissagailklein.com. And I want to say thank you for being on I Am Refocused Radio. Thank you so much. It was an honor to be here and talk with you. Thank you so much. And like we say on every single show, keep God first, stay focused, and peace.